Welcome to Star Trek Theory, where we look at ideas, theories, and speculation in all things Star Trek. And today we're looking at the theory of, is there going to be a surprise attack on Mars? And could this be the 9/11 type event that happens in Picard's past that the trailers have been hinting at? And if so, what does this mean for the Picard series? So how does this happen? We've seen many clips in the trailers of those triangle ships attacking on a red planet, and it's still not totally clear until we see the series, but it looks like the Romulans were able to do a few things in unison. First, they took control of one of Starfleet's biggest starships, the Verity, and then they launched the surprise attack on Mars. So we see in the Countdown comic that the Romulans have taken control of the USS Verity. What if having access to that ship now means that they have access to all of Starfleet codes and all of the computers and all of the ships throughout the Federation? We also see in those comics that Geordi was working at Utopia Planitia, which is the station which orbits around Mars, and was preparing some new starships to evacuate all of the Romulans with. And I think that this station and those ships are the ones we see in the trailer. Geordi was making the ships to be able to evacuate the Romulans with, and I think the Romulans may have been able to use the codes to take control of those triangular ships and then turn them against Starfleet. It explains why we see so many shots of the ships, which have Federation insignias on, attacking not only the space station in space, but also on the planet. It would have been a complete surprise attack, and definitely a parallel to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. Likely there probably wasn't even much defense, so thousands of millions would have died. And that's what I think the Children of Mars short track is going to show, from the perspective of those children on Mars, and the horrific experience it would have been.
This is an emergency alert.
I don't think the whole planet would have been wiped out, but a lot of people would have been killed, and it would create a deep scar in Starfleet history. On top of all that, in the trailer we see a fleet of Romulan ships attacking Mars also, so could it be that they were cloaked in orbit around Mars waiting to attack? So what effect has this had on Picard? I think it made him do the one thing he thought he would never do, and that's quit Starfleet. The Romulans got access to that starship because of his failure on the planet, and he will blame himself. But even worse than that, I really think that Geordi is going to be one of those thousands of people that will die in the surprise attack. He's the chief engineer on the Utopia Planitia station, and like I said before, I think those triangular ships were the ones he was building to help evacuate all of the Romulans. So the ships of peace he was making were turned into ships of weapons, and it's going to be a little sad. This will become a pivotal moment in Starfleet history, and moving forward, Picard will resign out of disgust, and it remains the biggest thing affecting him once the series begins. And we also see Picard reliving this event in what would seem to be a dream. So the surprise attack on Mars happens in Picard's past, and the Picard series will be taking place in that future after this event, and he'll wake up from that nightmare now in the future after these events, and that's where the series begins. But how will others react to this event? I think this will also affect Raffi Musiker in a potentially even bigger way. We see in the Countdown comics that she's Picard's first officer, but by the time of the series, she's definitely left Starfleet, and she's obviously been affected massively by this event. What if one of the children in that school on Mars was actually hers? Now I'm speculating massively about this, but I feel it's something the writers could do. It's just a feeling, but I feel that this could be the case, and maybe Chris Rios was the father. It would explain how they know each other, and it would also explain why Chris Rios left Starfleet. Basically, this event will create a lot of hopelessness and is a real scar in Starfleet history. I think Picard will seek her out in the series, and that's where we'll find her. As for the Romulans, the supernova still happened, but as a result of this, they probably didn't get as much evacuation as much as they could have been, because Starfleet no longer helped them after the surprise attack. So the Romulans, in their moment of the greatest need, Starfleet was willing to help them, but they lashed out at Starfleet. So now, the Romulan Empire would have collapsed. Then the Romulans would be spread out as refugees across the galaxy. While the Romulan Empire collapsed, there's still plenty of former Romulan colonies which they can live on. And in my mind, the writers will use this story element to compare the Romulans to modern day parallels of Muslims after the 9/11 attacks. In Starfleet, they're probably reviled and hated. And there might even be two types of Romulans, the normal good kind who are just refugees trying to live and survive, And then the bad enemies who are doing weird things, dissecting Borgs and keeping them prisoner and scheming. Another parallel to events after 9/11. And I wonder if the character Narek is going to be one of those conflicted Romulans who is working with the bad ones but really is good. Maybe he'll help Dahj. And during the series, Picard will visit some of the Romulan colonies and we'll see how they're living. And because of his role in the evacuation, he will be seen as someone to trust by the Romulans. And it could be that Picard's main reason to visit these colonies is to find that Romulan elf, Elnor, who's going to join him on his mission during the series, which is likely to help Dahj. And we're going to explore more about that in a future video. But as for Starfleet, it seems this event will put them in a very dark place. It looks like they're doing things they never would have done before, experimenting with creating new androids, refusing to help Picard, and possibly imprisoning Borg. So likely Starfleet would have become much more militaristic, the Romulans would be seen as ungrateful and likely reviled by Starfleet. It seems there's going to be a lot more going on behind the scenes now at Starfleet as a result, but should hopefully make an interesting twist in the series, with Picard being the only person left of good conscience who needs to go up against the very organization he dedicated his life to. I just hope if this is true that they find a way to end the series with the good nature of the Federation returned and see them overcome the hate that they would have had for what the Romulans did and uphold the values of Star Trek. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with this? Could the surprise attack have been orchestrated by cloak ships? Could the Romulans actually have used holographic technology to cloak their ships into looking like Starfleet ships instead? And what kind of effects and ripples will this have on Starfleet moving forward? And also, to celebrate the launch of Picard, we're giving away an Eaglemoss XL model of the Jean-Luc Picard's old ship, the Enterprise D. And to enter for a chance to win, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and leave a comment on any video with the hashtag PicardGiveaway. And if you can, share the video on Twitter. And the competition runs right up to the launch of the first episode of Picard, so get your theories and ideas down in the comments below using that hashtag. So good luck. And as always, thanks for watching, and Trek on.